Hello and welcome and namaste from New Delhi. You're watching DD India NewsHour. I'm Gautam Roy. Coming up over the next 1 hour. Syrian forces withdraw from Swida after Israel pounds Damascus and US intervenes. Interim ruler Shara promises to protect the Druze community. The United Kingdom's Liberal government takes landmark call to lower voting age to 16 by next elections. The move is in line with Scottish and Welsh polling rules. Ukraine's parliament appoints Yulia Sviridenko as the country's new prime minister. Deputy PM is pegged to take over as new envoy to the US. And Iraq goes into national mourning after at least 69 people are feared killed in a hypermarket blaze at Al-Quds city. Prime Minister orders a high-level probe. First up, the Syrian government has announced that local leaders will take control of security in the southern city of Swida in an attempt to defuse violence that has killed hundreds of people and triggered Israeli military intervention. The nation's interim ruler, Ahmed al-Shara, has taken to the airwaves to assure the minority Druze community of protection and also appealed for national unity. Take a look.
After days of violence in and around the predominantly Druze-inhabited city of Swida, which saw scores of people being killed, convoys of Syrian security forces and trailer transporters carrying tanks were seen moving out on Wednesday night. But the ceasefire between Druze minority fighters and government troops backed by Bedouin tribes came about only after Israel struck at Syrian troops in the combat zone. It also nearly leveled the nation's defense ministry in Damascus and almost hit the presidential palace. A convoy of Israeli military vehicles was seen driving into the Syrian side of the Israel-Syria border near the Druze town of Majdal Shams in the Golan Heights on Thursday, following powerful airstrikes on Damascus a day before. Israel's punitive action in support of the Druze community saw Syria's interim ruler Ahmed al-Shara taking to the airwaves to declare truce. He also gave out a call for national unity while assuring the minorities of protection.
I also address the Druze people who are an integral part of the fabric of this nation. Syria will never be a place for division or fragmentation or sowing discord among its people. We assure you that protecting your rights and freedom is one of our priorities, and we reject any effort that aims to drag you to an external party.
The Syrian leader also spoke of ensuring accountability for those who perpetrated the violence while thanking US, Turkey and Arab nations for their interventions to stop the bloodshed, while saying, "We are not among those who fear war."
Here, Israel resorted to extensive targeting of civilian and governmental facilities to undermine efforts, which greatly complicated the situation and posed matter to a large-scale escalation.
The US has been working to improve ties with Syria after years of imposing sanctions during the Bashar al-Assad regime. The sectarian violence and Israeli strikes in its response raised much concern, which was expressed by America's top diplomat just hours before the ceasefire was announced.
It's complicated, obviously. These are historic, long-time rivalries between different groups in the southwest of Syria, Bedouins, the Druze community, and it led to an unfortunate situation and a misunderstanding, it looks like, between the Israeli side and the Syrian side. So we've been engaged with them all morning long and all night long with both sides.
For now, the ceasefire is reported to be holding, but it's come about only after over 500 people are estimated to have been killed over days of clashes. Other minority groups like the Kurds have called upon Shara and his government to rethink its approach to Syria's minorities and begin a national dialogue to ensure political and economic stability for a nation still recovering from decades of strife. Gautam Roy's report for DD India.
And we'll be focusing further on Syria a little later on in the show with an expert guest as well. Meanwhile, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has said in a video published on Thursday that Israel established a clear policy of demilitarization of the area in Syria south of Damascus. Netanyahu said Israel is committed to protecting the Druze in the southern areas of Syria and ensuring no Syrian army is present in the region south of Damascus.
We have set forth a clear policy, demilitarization of the region south of Damascus, from the Golan Heights and to the Druze mountain area. That's number one. Number two is protecting the brotherhood of our brothers, the Druze in the Druze mountain. Both were broken by the regime in Damascus. They sent troops south of Damascus into the region that has to be demilitarized and began slaughtering the Druze. That we cannot accept in any way. Therefore, I directed the Israeli army to take action and take powerful action.
Now on to another theatre of conflict. Amid escalating war, Ukraine has appointed a new Prime Minister as President Volodymyr Zelensky shuffled the pack of his government. Olha Stefanishina has been fielded as Ukraine's new envoy to the US, while US Special Envoy Keith Kellogg was in Ukraine inspecting its troops. At the same time, the Russian assault intensifies with no ceasefire in sight.
As the Ukraine-Russia war rages unabated, with Moscow weighing heavy on Kyiv amidst heavy drone and missile attacks, Ukraine is undergoing internal strategic realignment to gear up for the coming days. Ukraine's parliament voted on Thursday to appoint Yulia Sviridenko as the country's new prime minister. She secured 262 votes in the 450-seat parliament. Due to wartime conditions, parliamentary sessions are not broadcast in Ukraine. President Zelensky supported her appointment as part of the largest government reshuffle since Russia's invasion began in February 2022. Also, as part of the reshuffle, President Zelensky appointed Deputy Prime Minister Olha Stefanishina as Ukraine's new ambassador to the United States. Zelensky stated that she would also serve as special presidential representative to Washington to strengthen diplomatic relations while formal appointment procedures are underway. Meanwhile, US Special Envoy Keith Kellogg visited Ukraine's military training grounds on the third day of his tour. Video footage shows Kellogg observing a military training exercise at an undisclosed location, accompanied by Brigadier General Oleksandr Pivnenko, commander of Ukraine's National Guard. Kellogg arrived in Ukraine on July 14, one day after President Trump announced his tougher stance against Russia over the war. The Russia-Ukraine war, meanwhile, continues with no signs of ceasefire in sight. Several attempts by US President Donald Trump to bring President Putin and President Zelensky to the negotiating table seems to have yielded no results. Over 3.5 years now, Russia has annexed several parts of Ukraine and continues its assault. Kyiv has retaliated but lacks the long-range missiles and weapons needed to strike deep into Russian territory. President Trump recently issued a 50-day ultimatum to Russia to agree to a ceasefire. He also announced plans to supply Ukraine with advanced weaponry and impose additional sanctions on Moscow. But even though the US threatened to levy additional sanctions on Russia, Moscow seems undeterred. As of now, the conflict shows no signs of resolution as diplomatic efforts falter and military actions escalate. With heightened US involvement and a major reshuffle in Ukraine's leadership, the coming weeks could prove pivotal. All eyes now turn to Moscow and Washington as the 50-day deadline looms, holding global peace in the balance. Syed Absarul Hassan's report for DD India.
Now, Russia handed over the bodies of 1,000 Ukrainian soldiers on Thursday under a repatriation deal reached during recent peace talks. That's what Ukrainian officials have confirmed. The agreement follows two failed negotiation rounds in Istanbul that yielded no ceasefire but led to prisoner exchanges and body transfers. Ukraine's coordination office said the remains were claimed to be Ukrainian, though Kyiv has previously accused Russia of misidentifying its own soldiers in such deals in return. Ukraine transferred the remains of 19 Russian soldiers, according to Kremlin aide Vladimir Medinsky. Now, the streets of Taipei fell silent today as Taiwan staged one of its largest ever civil defense drills, a dramatic show of preparedness amid growing concerns over a potential Chinese invasion. Air raid sirens echoed across the capital, bringing traffic to a standstill and sending residents indoors to seek shelter. DD India's Rahul Upadhyay brings us more.
Sirens wailed, streets stood still, and a nation stood ready. In the heart of Taipei, daily life came to a halt Thursday as Taiwan staged its largest ever civil defense and military preparedness drill, a pointed response to China's growing military belligerence across the strait.
Yes, because we don't have drills like this back in the Philippines. We just have earthquake drill, but about missiles, so it's quite like alarming to read about that, and then yeah, quite nervous.
Actually, there's a lot of issues here. China wants to claim Taiwan, but the exercises between the U.S., Japan, France, Great Britain, they are very, we are very secure. We're very, we are not worried because we are secure. We know that.
This year's air raid exercise, no routine affair, was designed with a focus on preparing civilians for the unthinkable, a Chinese missile strike. For the first time, Taiwan merged its Wan-An and Min-An civil drills into the 2025 Urban Resilience Exercise, mobilizing the entire island in a unified show of defiance and readiness. Across the Penghu Islands, Taiwan's armed forces fired javelin missiles, tank rounds and machine guns in a simulation to repel an amphibious assault, a scenario many fear could be more fact than fiction in the years ahead.
The society is so messy now. There are a lot of unpredictable situations. So it is actually necessary to be well prepared. Everyone should cooperate as much as possible. At least we know what to do when a crisis happens. That we are mentally prepared. Of course, we hope for world peace and such things would never happen. But knowing how to act if they do, drills like these would be beneficial for us.
Now in its 41st edition, the Han Kuang military drills have never been more comprehensive and more urgent. Soldiers have trained in subways and exhibition centers, transforming public spaces into makeshift war zones. A clear signal that if China brings the war to Taiwan, the island intends to fight back at every corner. Taiwan's defense ministry is also engaging the public like never before, issuing alerts in English for foreign nationals, mapping out shelter routes, and urging citizens to stay alert and prepared. As Beijing ramps up its provocations, Taiwan isn't just responding, it's rehearsing survival, resilience, and resistance. Rahul Upadhyay's report, DD India.
And still to come in this edition of DD India NewsHour. UK and Germany signed friendship treaty, deepening ties in face of threats. Former colonial ruler France hands over its last military bases in Senegal. And it's a medical breakthrough in the UK as 8 babies are born after IVF using DNA from 3 people, making them less susceptible to inherited diseases.
Geopolitics and trade deals. Economic challenges amid development. Hard work and the path to prosperity. It's the economy always. between walkers, money is what money does, and says supply creates its own demand, between the bulls pulls and bears tears. When supply chains globalization and India rises to the podium. We'll get you centered with the economic brief at 8 p.m. every Thursday on DD India.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India NewsHour. I'm Gautam Roy. Now, Britain on Thursday set out plans to lower the voting age to 16 in a landmark reform to the process that underpins one of the world's oldest parliaments. The ruling Labour Party pledged to lower the age from 18 ahead of winning power last year. It is among several planned changes to the democratic system. Some argue Britain's democracy is in crisis, in particular due to low turnout. The voting age change is contentious, however, with critics previously arguing it is self-serving, as newly enfranchised teenagers are seen as more likely to support centre-left Labour. The government will have to bring legislation before Parliament, where it has a comfortable majority. Only a small number of countries allow 16-year-olds to vote in national elections, according to online databases. Now, these include Austria, the first EU country to lower the voting age to 16 in 2007, as well as Argentina, Brazil, Ecuador and Cuba. Even Scotland and Wales have lowered the age to 16 already, and it seems Britain is falling in line. Now, 8 healthy babies have been born in the United Kingdom using a new IVF technique that successfully reduces their risk of inheriting genetic diseases from their mothers. Children born through the 3-person technique inherited most of their DNA, their genetic blueprint, from their parents, but also get a tiny amount, about 0.1%, from the second woman. This is a change that is passed down the generations. The findings were hailed as a breakthrough, which raises hopes that women with mutations in their mitochondrial DNA could one day have children without passing debilitating or deadly diseases on to the offsprings. 1 out of every 5,000 births is affected by mitochondrial diseases, which cannot be treated and include symptoms such as impaired vision, diabetes and muscle wasting. All the 8 infants are currently healthy. Their health will be followed up over the coming years to see if any problems crop up.
Mitochondria are the powerhouses of the cell, and they convert the food we eat into a usable form of energy. So if you think of this as being the sugars and the fats need to be converted into something so that the cells work. So if you think about a heart cell beating, it obviously needs energy. So mitochondrial diseases are basically when those mitochondria stop working. And therefore, what happens is the cells effectively run out of energy. And this means that patients develop symptoms in organs which require a lot of energy, such as the brain or the heart or the muscles, and it can lead to devastating disease. For example, rapid heart failure, sudden death, neurodegenerative diseases, for example. So that's what we're trying to prevent.
Now, Britain and Germany have signed a wide-ranging friendship treaty on Thursday, enhancing cooperation in areas such as defence, transport and mutual assistance. The deal marks German Chancellor Friedrich Merz's first visit to London and signals a fresh push to reset UK-EU relations nearly a decade after Brexit. The treaty builds on last year's joint defence agreement and follows similar pacts Germany has with only a few nations, such as France, highlighting the deepening ties. It also comes just days after the UK and France reaffirmed nuclear cooperation and amid concerns over European security and transatlantic uncertainties.
I see it very much as evidence of the closeness of our relationship as it stands today, the strength of our values, the strength of our joint approach, but also very much as a statement of intent, a statement of our ambition to work ever more closely together, closest of allies, and whether that's on defence, security, trade, the economy, energy, covers so much in this treaty.
Dass wir eine Vereinbarung darüber treffen konnten, dass I am delighted that we were able to reach an agreement that will make it easier for the school children and students to come to Great Britain in the future and vice versa, to come to Germany more easily. This will give the younger generation in particular an opportunity to get to know about both countries better.
Now, France has handed over its last major military base in Senegal on Thursday, marking the end of its decades-long troop presence in the country. In a formal ceremony in Dakar, French General Pascal Iyani handed over control as Senegalese flag was raised. The move is part of France's broader withdrawal from West and Central Africa, with future focus shifting to training, intelligence sharing and assistance only upon request. Now shifting focus to the US, Mark Zuckerberg and current and former directors and officers of Meta Platforms agreed on Thursday to settle claims seeking $8 billion for the damage they allegedly caused the company by allowing repeated violations of Facebook users' privacy. The parties did not disclose details of the settlement, and defense lawyers did not address the judge, Kathleen McCormick of the Delaware Court of Chancery. McCormick adjourned the trial just as it was to enter its second day, and she congratulated the parties. The case was brought following revelations that data from millions of Facebook users was accessed by Cambridge Analytica, a now defunct political consulting firm that worked for Donald Trump's successful US presidential campaign in 2016. The US Senate has approved President Donald Trump's plans for billions of dollars in cuts to funding for foreign aid and public broadcasting, handing the Republican president another victory as he exerts control over Congress with little opposition. The Senate voted 51 to 48 in favor of Trump's request to cut $9 billion in spending already approved by the Congress. Most of the cuts are to programs to assist foreign countries suffering from disease, war and natural disasters, but the plan also eliminates all $1.1 billion the Corporation for Public Broadcasting was due to receive over the next 2 years. Trump and many of his fellow Republicans argue that spending on public broadcasting is an unnecessary expense and rejects its news coverage as suffering from anti-rights bias. Standalone recession packages have not passed in decades, with lawmakers reluctant to cede their constitutionally mandated control of spending. In a terribly tragic incident, a fire tore through a newly opened shopping mall in the eastern Iraqi city of Kut overnight, killing at least 69 people as grief-stricken families searched for missing relatives. The blaze, the latest in a country where safety regulations are frequently neglected, broke out late on Wednesday, reportedly starting on the first floor but rapidly engulfing the 5-story Quraysh hypermarket mall. The cause was not immediately known, but one survivor said air conditioner had exploded. According to Interior Ministry, civil defense teams rescued more than 45 people who were trapped inside the building, which includes a restaurant and a supermarket. Prime Minister Mohammed Shia al-Sudani has ordered a thorough probe into the fire to identify shortcomings and prevent further incidents. In September 2023, a fire killed at least 100 people when it ripped through a crowded Iraqi wedding hall, sparking a panic stampede for the exit. Now, the Bangladesh Nationalist Party has accused the interim government of failing to control the worsening law and order situation in the country. The BNP claimed that murders, mugging, robberies and extortion have surged due to the incompetence and inaction of the authorities concerned. The party, in a statement, alleged that a deliberate attempt is underway to destabilize the country and sabotage the upcoming parliamentary election, promising to be held in February. The party also criticized the government's advisers for merely making statements in the media without taking any effective action. Deadly storms, heat waves and wildfires are ravaging Asia and North America displacing thousands and claiming lives. South Korea faced record floods. India and Pakistan have been struggling with deadly monsoon rains and evacuations. China has endured a historic heat wave, while the US and Canada battle severe floods and massive wildfires. More updates in this report.
From deadly downpours to searing heat waves and raging wildfires, extreme weather events are battering countries across Asia and North America, claiming lives and displacing thousands. In South Korea, at least 3 people lost their lives and more than 1,000 residents were evacuated after record-breaking rainfall, the heaviest in 120 years, pounded the South Chungcheong province, triggering floods and widespread damage. In India, monsoon rains continue to disrupt daily life. Prayagraj and several other cities were hit by heavy downpours, while the Amarnath Yatra pilgrimage was suspended after a landslide killed 1 and injured 3. The Indian Meteorological Department has forecast extremely heavy rainfall in coastal Karnataka, Kerala, Madhya Pradesh and Uttar Pradesh. In neighbouring Pakistan, the monsoon has turned deadly. 54 people were killed in just 24 hours, raising the death toll to nearly 180 since late June. Punjab province is facing severe urban flooding, with homes collapsing under relentless rainfall. Authorities have ordered evacuations in low-lying areas. Meanwhile, China is reeling from a record-breaking heat wave. Power demand surged beyond 1.5 billion kilowatts. Temperatures soared to 50 degrees Celsius in some regions. With no immediate relief in sight, heat alerts remain in effect for vast parts of the country. In the United States, flash floods inundated the city of Burlington, North Carolina, prompting emergency responses and NWS flood warnings. Residents were assisted by first responders as streets turned into rivers. Further west, wildfires in Oregon have burned more than 64,000 acres, forcing Governor Tina Kotek to declare a statewide wildfire emergency. Crews are working tirelessly to build containment lines as low humidity and gusty winds pose fresh challenges. In Canada, 7 active wildfires are spreading across Newfoundland and Labrador, with the largest, the Chase Harbor fire, covering 1,200 hectares. Several cabins have been destroyed and firefighting efforts are ongoing to prevent further spread. These back-to-back extreme weather events mark the growing impact of climate change as nations grapple with natural disasters of increasing intensity and frequency. Bureau Report, DD India.
Let's now take a look at other stories making news around the world as well. Now, the world's largest crane, Big Carl, has lifted the dome of Britain's Hinkley Point reactor building for installation on Thursday. The crane slowly moved the dome over what will be the reactor of Britain's first new nuclear plant in more than 2 decades. A small group of people, including a local priest, gathered on Thursday in Rabov at the monument commemorating the 298 passengers and crew who died when Malaysia Airlines flight MH17 was shot down and crashed in the Donetsk region 11 years ago. Adults and teenagers laid flowers, lit candles and placed soft toys to honor the innocent victims. Italian cheese Pecorino Romano producers are calling for calm diplomacy and strategic preparation as potential tariff hikes loom over one of Italy's most iconic cheese exports. The US market is a crucial one for Pecorino Romano exports, with over half of global shipments destined for the US, representing 35% of total production. And still to come on DD India NewsHour. We'll be speaking with our expert guest about what's in store for Syria after the return of calm following days of identity politics-driven violence. Delegation of special envoys from the Republic of Korea meets Prime Minister Modi in New Delhi. And the Indian Army is all set to receive the next batch of AK-203 assault rifles in 2 to 3 weeks. Welcome back. You're watching India NewsHour. I'm Gautam Roy. Now let's take a closer look at the deeply complex sectarian and ethnic mosaic shaping Syria's ongoing conflict, which has just been resolved really, from Sunni Muslims to Alawites, Druze, Kurds and Christians. Each group has a distinct history as well as role and stake in the nation's fragile future.
Syria's population of over 20 million is overwhelmingly Sunni Muslim, but also includes a mix of Alawites, Christians, Druze, Shiites and Kurds, each with deep-rooted identities. Sunni Muslims have long dominated Syria's cultural centers like Damascus and Aleppo. But since Hafez al-Assad seized power in 1970, power shifted towards Alawite minority. In 1982, the Syrian branch of the Sunni Islamist Muslim Brotherhood launched an unsuccessful revolt against Hafez al-Assad. The Alawites, just 10% of the population, gained prominence under the Assads. They were a historically poor rural community from Syria's mountainous coastal region. Hailing from the Alawite village of Qardaha, Hafez al-Assad seized power after climbing the ranks in the military and the Ba'ath Party. Druze communities rooted in southern Sweden maintain a degree of secrecy about the practice of their faith, which incorporates elements from Islam and other philosophies, emphasizing monotheism and reincarnation. The minority group that also has members in Lebanon, Israel, and the Israeli-occupied Golan Heights. Kurds are Syria's largest non-Arab ethnic group at around 10% of the population and are concentrated near the border with Turkey and Iraq. They are part of a stateless ethnic group spread between Syria, Turkey, Iran, Iraq, and Armenia. Christians, though small in number, are diverse: the Greek Orthodox, Maronites, Syriac Orthodox, and Catholics, Chaldeans, Assyrians and Armenian Orthodox and Catholics, and a few Protestants. With ethnic and sectarian lines shaping alliances and battlefronts, interim President Sharar's efforts to unify Syria face daunting challenges. The road to peace in Syria must navigate centuries of history and a mosaic of identities, each demanding a voice in the nation's uncertain future. Bureau Report, DD India.
So for now, calm has been restored, but the situation perhaps still remains fairly tenuous. To talk about it, we're joined by our guest, Ambassador Anil Kumar Trigunath. He's a former senior diplomat. And good evening to you, Ambassador Trigunath. What do you make of how things have panned out over the last few days in the southern part of Syria, right next to Israel, which Israel then intervened and bombed even Damascus? And now we have some sort of a situation of calm after a lot of mediation also took place. The US is involved, Turkey was involved, Arab nations were also involved.
Yes, in fact, as you mentioned in your report, that Syria is a mosaic of various religions, sects that have been coexisting for a very long time. Of course, there have been various conflicts and problems among themselves. There are Alawites, there are Kurds, there are Christians, there are Druze communities, and Druze are also on both sides. About 150,000 Druze live also in Israel, and Israelis basically tried to take them into the army and others. And therefore, when this whole thing, if you remember that when al-Shara came to power, immediately thereafter a big delegation from Syria of the Druze elders crossed into Israel and wanted to talk. So when Israel took over complete control of Golan Heights, it tried to justify its presence and support in support of Druze to come and attack the military installations and whatever al-Shara, the forces that al-Shara has. And they also bombed the defense of building near the presidential palace and all. So I think that this is something that free for all. There is no international law. There is just the pretext that you take. Basically, what Israel is looking at is creating some kind of buffer in the southwest, especially in Sweda area, where there is no, it's a demilitarized zone that is looking for, and that's what probably has been agreed to because of the ceasefire. At the same time, you know that the Americans have been very keen and they have been supporting al-Shara from the very beginning, along with the Turks and to the extent with the Israelis. When they took over power and moved out the Assad regime completely. But they have not been able to control the whole country as of now. So the Druze fear for retaliation from the Bedouins and from the Sunni tribes as well as from the army. They don't have the faith in him.
Okay.
They don't trust al-Shara also. So we are going to see, we had seen that about 100 odd Alawites were also killed in such kind of skirmishes. There are problems between the Kurds and the current regime of al-Shara in Damascus. So it is a very tenuous situation, and it will continue to flare up from time to time.
But do you think for the time being, the ceasefire will hold, although there is a certain issue where the Golan Heights are concerned, because some of the Druze have been coming over to Israel, and Israel doesn't want to. It doesn't want that.
Israel wants some of the Druze to be there, so that it can create some kind of a buffer between the Arabs and the Jews, because they align more towards the Jews and the Christians, the Druze community. So it serves them, and that's why they have taken them into the army as well. So it serves purpose for them for both ways, but it seems to be myopic at this stage. But Israel, by force, has already controlled the Golans, and it is trying to create a buffer zone in Soweida and other places. So we'll have to see how the international community is going to pressurize both sides to maintain the calm. Right now, it seems that Marco Rubio tried to get away by saying that there was some misunderstanding, but I think the misunderstanding is of their ground situation that the Americans have generally from this region, and that's why. But hopefully that there will be a calm, because it's very needed. Whatever be the case, Syria deserves a peaceful return to normalcy. Millions of Syrians are in different countries, the refugees. They have suffered a great deal in the last 15 years, and I hope that there is some kind of a calm prevails. And Israel also understands that by doing what it does may not be helpful in the long run for them.
Right. I just want to understand further. I mean, we have been reading about this Druze community. I believe they are some kind of an offshoot of the Shiite sect of Islam, but they have certain mixed practices as well. But I just wanted to ask you, what was the status of the Druze community during the Assad regime? Were they better off than they are now, or were they in a bad shape even then, and things have worsened with the new regime, the interim regime?
You know, the Assad regime itself was a minority regime of Alawites.
Yes, the Alawites.
They also were partly Shiite. So to some extent, they have the commonality, and I have visited myself the proportion, and I saw that there was not such a major confrontation between them. But now what has happened is that with the advent of al-Shara, and once again the Sunnis are able to control the region or the country in that sense. So I think many of the Bedouins and others, and in fact it's not as simple as it looks like. If you see the chain of events, both sides have attacked each other. It started off with one truck that was taking some food supplies in the Druze village, which was stopped by the Bedouins and taken. Then they were kidnapping each other. Then they started killing one another till the army came. And therefore, and also there is this the Druze Military Council led by Hijri, which in the earlier case also denied the existence of any ceasefire. So he did not allow any ceasefire to take place. It's only now that under pressure from the Americans and on Israel as well as on al-Shara.
Okay. Let's quickly talk about. Let's also quickly talk about the issue of stability in Syria, because how do you think this entire episode has left al-Shara himself looking? Is he still firmly ensconced with American support and support of others, or has it in some way weakened him? Because there is a perception that it was the Israeli bombing, especially the military headquarters and very close to the palace that compelled him to sue for peace.
As you know that when this transition was taking place from Assad to al-Shara, at that time both the Americans and the Israelis bombed the whole military outfit of Syria, which existed, which was quite significant, but they finished it off in no time. So today, al-Shara does not have the kind of an army or the forces that can confront. At best, it is capable of essentially just controlling some kind of a law and order in Damascus and elsewhere. He is not in full control of the country as well. I mean,
he won't be in control of the area as well where the current conflict is happening. He's left it to some tribal leaders.
Yes, so this is why the Druze control this area, then this Kurds control a large part of the area, then you have the other Alawites in the coastal belt. So he does not still control the whole country. But what he is trying overtly, at least with the help of others and under the pressure from the West, he is trying to bring about some kind of a reconciliation. But this has to be a genuine reconciliation, then only they can all come together. But of course, the US interest is also playing out in for expanding the Abraham Accords by including Syria and Lebanon into the four countries that already were there. So that is one of the game plan that the United States has, and that's why they are containing Israel. Israel or Netanyahu, frankly, do not believe that al-Shara is a changed man. They think still he's a terrorist, and so do the Druze, and that's why under the pretext of supporting Druze, Israel is doing what it is doing.
What kind of stakes does India have in all this? I mean, the US has direct stakes. We've seen Donald Trump praising al-Shara as well in a slightly unusual way, and giving him the kind of support that he needs, perhaps with those waiving of sanctions as well. But how do things move forward, and what kind of a future does Syria have, where perhaps India could also play a part, where India might be interested in Syria's stability in return to better times?
Well, we have always supported Syrian solution by the Syrian people. I mean, we have supported them in the humanitarian relief. We provide $5 million every year. We provide humanitarian assistance. We have been standing with the Syrian people per se, including during the Assad's time, and even now we are there with them. But at the same time, currently country is going through a transition, but does not know exactly how it's going to play out. So we do hope that the international community, especially the Arab countries and the Americans, are able to bring about some kind of a peace and stability there, because it's extremely important, and Syria is a very important point of that chain, and therefore India is very much keen that there is stability and security in the place, so that more and more people who want to return to their country, and lots of refugees, 7.5 million, they can get back to their country and live in peace.
And what about Russia and China? Are they completely hands-off right now, or just watching from a distance quietly?
Russia mainly,
China had a voice, in fact, today.
Yeah, they are all issuing statements, but China is not that much involved. Although, if you remember that Syria became the 22nd country to join the BRI, the last country in the region. As far as Russia is concerned, Russia has cut some kind of a deal with both Turkey and Israel in order to retain its bases as of now. But it is not getting involved too much. They are supporting, and I think that suits al-Shara also. And the Russians and Israelis also have some understanding in that regard.
Okay. Well, let's see which way things go. For now, let's just hope that this calm sustains. The ceasefire is very important for semblance of stability to remain where Syria is concerned. And of course, the long-term future still remains pretty murky. Thanks a lot for joining us for the moment to talk about it, Ambassador Trikunath. Now, a delegation of special envoys from the Republic of Korea led by Kim Boo-kyu met Prime Minister Narendra Modi in New Delhi on Thursday. Recollecting his recent productive meeting with Korean President Kim Young-lee, Prime Minister Modi, in a post on X, reaffirmed India's commitment to advancing the India-Korea Special Strategic Partnership, which marks its 10th year. He highlighted the partnership's continued growth across key sectors including innovation, defense, shipbuilding and skilled mobility. The Ministry of External Affairs has confirmed that the execution of Nimisha Priya, Indian nurse facing death penalty in Yemen, has been postponed after sustained diplomatic interventions in recent days. MEA's spokesperson has said that India aims at securing a mutually agreeable resolution between Nimisha Priya's family and that of the victim.
This is a very sensitive matter, and the Government of India has been offering all possible assistance in the case. We have provided legal assistance and also appointed a lawyer to assist the family. We have also arranged for regular consular visits by a family, and we are also in touch with local authorities as also the family members to resolve this issue. The local authorities in Yemen have postponed carrying out her sentence that was scheduled for 16 July that you're well aware of. We continue to closely follow the matter and render all possible assistance in the case. We are also in touch with some friendly governments in this regard.
The cleanest cities of India have been announced on Thursday in New Delhi. The results of the world's largest urban sanitation survey, Swachh Sarvekshan 2024-25, are out. At a grand ceremony in New Delhi, President Draupadi Murmu felicitated over 78 awardees across 4 categories. This year, the spotlight was on a new category, the Super Swachh League cities, honouring consistent cleanliness champions. Let's take a close look at this story filed by my colleague Dibendu Mandal.
It was a celebration of cleanliness, innovation and community spirit at the 9th edition of Swachh Sarvekshan, India's mega cleanliness audit. Indore once again emerged as the cleanest city, claiming the top spot in both the Million Plus and the newly introduced Super League Cities category. The city continues its record-breaking streak, making it 8 consecutive wins. Indore's success story is a mix of people's participation, solid waste management and tech-driven solutions. With active citizen engagement, innovative recycling models and a mission mode mindset, the city has set a benchmark that others aspire to follow. In the 1 million plus population category, Surat, Navi Mumbai and Vijayawada followed Indore. Meanwhile, Ahmedabad ranked as the top clean city among all million plus cities, with Bhopal and Lucknow securing the 2nd and 3rd positions.
This has been a tremendous journey of last 10 years, and Ahmedabad has consistently done very good and taken several initiatives to achieve this. One of the best things that Ahmedabad has done is reducing the waste, reusing the waste and recycling the waste.
But this year, it wasn't just about big cities. From Budni to Panchgani, smaller towns too got their moment under the spotlight. For the first time, cities were ranked across 5 population-based categories, ensuring even small towns could compete fairly. Panchgani was declared the cleanest among very small cities, while Beta topped the 20 to 50,000 category. Noida and NDMC bagged top honours among cities with up to 10 lakh population. The focus was not just on being clean, but staying clean consistently. The 2024-25 survey was massive in scale and detail. Over 3,000 assessors covered 11 lakh households in 4,500 plus cities, with a strong focus on reduce, reuse, recycle. The survey involved more than 14 crore citizens through face-to-face interviews, apps, MyGov, and social media. It wasn't just an audit, it was a nationwide movement.
सफाई मित्र की सुरक्षा से जुड़े प्रयासों और सफाई मित्र सुरक्षित शहर पुरस्कारों के लिए मैं पुनः मंत्री जी और सभी संबंधी लोगों की सराहना करती हूं। इस पुरस्कार के विजेताओं को भी मैं विशेष बधाई देती हूं। 1 लाख से कम आबादी वाले शहरों के पास प्रायः संसाधनों की कमी होती है। इसके बावजूद ऐसे छोटे शहरों ने स्वच्छता के प्रतिमान स्थापित किए हैं। ऐसे छोटे शहरों की स्वच्छता से जुड़े सभी लोग विशेष बधाई के पात्र हैं।
From a modest beginning in 2016 with just 73 urban local bodies, Swachh Sarvekshan has now become the soul of the Swachh Bharat mission urban. As the cleanliness drive evolves, the competition gets stiffer and the spirit stronger. With the bar raised once again, cities now have their task cut out. Debyendu Mandal's report, DD India.
Now, Prime Minister Narendra Modi will be visiting Bihar and West Bengal on Friday to launch a series of development projects worth over $1.41 billion. These projects are aimed at strengthening infrastructure, connectivity and socio-economic growth in the two states. Here's a detailed report.
In line with his commitment to accelerate the pace of development in Bihar and West Bengal and to boost connectivity and infrastructure in these states, Prime Minister Narendra Modi will lay foundation stones, inaugurate and dedicate to the nation development projects catering to rail, road, rural development, fisheries, electronics and information technology sectors. In Bihar, Prime Minister will dedicate to the nation multiple rail projects which include track upgradation, track automation and railway infrastructure upgradation, which will strengthen connectivity and quality of railway service between Bihar and the rest of the country. Prime Minister will also flag off 4 new Amrit Bharat trains from New Delhi and Lucknow to various locations in Bihar, and also a train connecting West Bengal's Malda town to Lucknow's Gomti Nagar via Bhagalpur, improving connectivity in the region. In a major boost to road infrastructure in the region, Prime Minister will lay the foundation stone for 4-laning of National Highway 319. He will also inaugurate a 2-lane segment of NH 333C, which will act as a key link between Bihar and Jharkhand. Prime Minister will also inaugurate new Software Technology Parks of India STPI facility at Darbhanga and state-of-the-art incubation facility of STPI at Patna. These facilities will help in boosting IT software and service exports. To strengthen the fisheries and aquaculture sector in Bihar, Prime Minister will inaugurate a series of modern fisheries development projects under National Fisheries Scheme. Prime Minister will also release 400 crore rupees to around 61,500 self-help groups in Bihar under National Rural Livelihoods Mission and hand over keys to 12,000 beneficiaries under rural housing schemes. In West Bengal, Prime Minister will lay the foundation stone, inaugurate and dedicate to the nation multiple development projects catering to oil and gas, power, road and rail sectors. Prime Minister will lay the foundation stone of Bharat Petroleum Corporation Limited BPCL City Gas Distribution CGD project in Bankura and Purulia district. He will also dedicate to the nation Durgapur to Kolkata section of Durgapur-Haldia natural gas pipeline. Besides, Prime Minister will dedicate to the nation retrofitting pollution control system flue gas desulfurization FGD of Durgapur Steel Thermal Power Station and Raghunathpur Thermal Power Station of Damodar Valley Corporation. PM will also dedicate to the nation the doubling of Purulia-Kotshila rail line in Purulia and inaugurate 2 road overbridges ROBs constructed under Setu Bharatam program at Topsi and Pandabeshwar in Paschim Bardhaman. Bureau Report, DD India.
Now, after the grand success of a maiden edition of World Audiovisual and Entertainment Summit in Mumbai, India will unveil outcome report of the summit on Friday. Union Minister for Information Broadcasting Ashwini Vaishnav will release WAVE's outcome report. The minister will also inaugurate new campus of Indian Institute of Creative Technology. IICT is envisioned as a world-class talent hub for India's creative economy. The institute is launching 18 specialized courses spanning gaming, post-production, animation, comics and XR, all designed in close collaboration with industry leaders. The minister will also inaugurate Bharat Pavilion at Gulshan Mahal in NFTC campus. And the Indian Ministry of Information and Broadcasting is adopting AI-based solutions to enhance inclusive communication across India's diverse languages. Secretary Sanjay Jaju met with startups, incubators and academic institutions at Hyderabad's T-Hub to promote AI/ML innovations on Thursday. Highlighting the Wave X Startup Accelerator platform, he introduced the Kala Setu and Bhasha Setu challenges to encourage AI startups to create scalable, indigenous technologies that celebrate India's linguistic and cultural diversity. Now, India is rapidly advancing towards achieving complete indigenous production of the AK-203 assault rifles by December 2025. Official sources in Indo-Russian Rifles Private Limited confirmed. The Army received 35,000 of these rifles being manufactured under a joint Indo-Russian venture in Uttar Pradesh's Amethi in 2024. By 2026, the company aims to produce 120,000 rifles annually, fabricated entirely in India, from raw material supply to final assembly. The landmark development marks a major stride in the country's defense self-reliance initiatives. Time now to get you some sporting updates as well. Well, President of National Rifle Association of India, Kalikesh Narayan Singh Deo, has been appointed as the interim chairperson of the International Shooting Sport Federation Committee on e-sports, e-games and technological innovations. The appointment marks an important milestone for India's growing influence in international shooting sport governance. The newly formed committee is a strategic initiative by the ISSF to explore and integrate emerging digital and technological trends such as virtual and augmented reality formats, e-shooting competitions and innovations in judging and training technologies. And that's all we have for this edition of DD India NewsHour. Do let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. And for those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on DD India's mobile app. It's available on both Android and iOS. Just scan the QR code on the screen and download the app right away. And we'll be back with more news as it breaks right here on DD India. I'm Gautam Roy from Office here in Delhi. Thanks for watching DD India NewsHour.